And hello, everybody. Welcome to Speak Up Darling Show. I'm Vanessa, I'm your host, and we have today a really special, how can I say, master in energy, really full of hearts and giving clarity on your purpose. It's Tuğçe that she's, there is so many titles. Let's start with one word. What is in one word your, not your qualification, but who you are in one word?
Oh, good question. Alchemist.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Alchemist. Just that's the one word because it encapsulates, like you said, there's quite a few things, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a lot. It's a really good link between the spiritual, the science. So between the really, whatever sky from earth into the physical. It's it's a really good, really good like reunion or assembly of who you are and what you practice for. And can you expand a bit on all these tools you have in your pockets?
Yes, of course. So I'm Tuğçe Koçoğlu-Hobden, and I'm founder of Heart and Purpose. So I'm calling myself an energy alchemist. However, that is sort of that's the fusion or the blend. It's like I've got my big pot, my cauldron, and I put all my modalities in it, and what comes through that is this alchemy. And so I am a certified transformative coach. So if we're going to, I'll sort of say it in a boring sense, but a transformative coach. And I'm a certified Kundalini Yoga teacher. So that includes all the kind of the wisdom and the science of Kundalini Yoga and breathwork, mantra, meditation. And I am also a divine dragon energy healing practitioner. So, which is slightly unusual. I know it's not...
Never heard before I met you. Never heard about the divine dragon energy healing, and it's a shame. I love dragons, so it's a really good point of kind of expanding a bit more on what is it about this dragon energy.
So, dragon energy is very similar to other modalities, healing modalities like Reiki. So you might have heard of Reiki before. Yeah. Reiki is probably the most well known. You might have heard of angelic healing, which is again similar, but it takes on a slightly different frequencies. Okay. Dragon, you've also got Atlantean, and there are some other lesser known ones. But I'd say Reiki and angelic are probably the most similar to the divine dragon. Dragon, because what I believe is that it uses this, it's a super high frequency, but one that is also very similar to our earthly physical bodies. I believe there was a time when dragons were part of the physical dimension that we are currently in. Mm-hmm. So although obviously we cannot see them, they're not here now, we're not seeing dragons in the physical on a different dimension and at a higher frequency, they are here and supporting us through our evolution of consciousness. Okay. So that is really what the divine dragons are, and they are incredibly supportive. So some people have a higher affinity with them, or like you said, you might love dragons, they might be in your conscious awareness. So some people look at dragons and go, oh my God, what are you talking about? They're terrifying. But I believe that is because of the portrayal of dragons in our history, right? Especially in Western civilization. So Westerners, they're all fire breathing. No, they're not. There are fire dragons, but no, they are not. They're not all fire breathing, menacing, evil, power, kind of, you associate them with power. But that is the interpretation of the human mind, the human ego interpreting what dragons are. That is not. Humans can be very power hungry. Humans are very much in their ego. So they are drawing upon the qualities, the negative qualities of these incredible mystical beings. Chinese culture or Eastern culture has a very different outlook on dragons, and again, they don't look at it, they don't have them as fire-breathing beasts. So
I guess also it's because in history or history they tend always to portray the one who lose as the bad one, because he makes the winner win for the right cause. In some way. So it's easier to have beasts than creature or living creature that has their own way of living. It's always a shame, but we tend to do that a lot. We do that with our fellow humans, so why not on dragons?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is always our perception of humans.
Yes. And how is the Chinese or Eastern perception onto dragons?
So the Eastern perception, they're not fire to breathe. They're not these huge beasts with wings necessarily. They don't all. They're more of that. I would say they're smaller, probably. Yeah, more kind of. Have you ever been to like that Chinese New Year festival? The celebrations. They're more sort of seen as good luck. They're symbols of prosperity. They are symbols of good fortune, and a friend to the humans, rather than something that's supportive rather than something you should push yourself away from. Yeah. So I think that's the differences between the Western and the Eastern cultures of dragons. And again, these frequencies are there for us to tap into for our personal healing and growth. When I say, I don't particularly like using the word healer, it's not, and again, that's probably something that's for my humanness, this incarnation in this physical body. But we are all our own healers. We have that innate healing ability. It's just some of us need, we all actually, on our journey, need someone else's support to be beside us to be able to access that. And that's what I talk about in a lot of my work, that I help, and I support men and women and men to break free from their self-imposed limitations, because these limitations that we put upon ourselves, right? That would be through our childhood conditioning and our programming. But underneath all that, we all have our unique gifts. We have our unique superpowers.
Yeah, we talk about onions, but I prefer the image, because really when you see the flower of the artichoke, that is so beautiful and so unique, and you have all these leaves around that comes and just entangle you, and there is nothing to eat on these leaves. It's just it's just
I love that imagery.
But it's like it's infinite leaves around us. but at least you can connect with the flower inside directly, and I'm completely agree with you with the healer part of it, that we tend to see healers also as, oh, I put my hand on you and poof, you're healed. No, we just facilitate, we guide, we channel energy, the frequency that's you need, but if you don't allow that, it won't happen anyway. It's something it's really important, I think, to repeat when just to understand that you can heal yourself. It's the frequency you choose also, and for me, the perception you choose. You can't. It's not just one perception. You just repeat affirmation just through the mind, and not having an action from your body or from a different level of energy, like the dragon energy or the aura or whatever. The communication gets stuck on one layer, and you can't reach this flower or light that you have inside. But how do you feel this frequency, for example, for you or for everyone? I mean,
so I would say, so I love that analogy with the artichoke. Yes, I look at it and the sacred geometry of that plant, that vegetable. What is it? Vegetable. I'm feeling all the kind of the energies. I'm also hiding. I can't be thinking of the words now. So it's that sacred geometry, right? It is that sacred, and it's that I look at it as a spiral. We've got the spirals of the heart, the spirals. Look at the rose. There are, and you mentioned the onion. We talk about the layers of the onion, but the spirals. It is the spiral down. It's sometimes a spiral up, but there are many levels to it. There are, when we're on this healing journey, we are healing different patterns, programs, and conditioning through this incarnation, but there are possibly other incarnations if you believe in past lives as well. Whatever your belief systems, and that's the thing. With spirituality, it isn't a religion. It's not. It is accepting of all belief systems, whether you completely don't believe it or not. That's okay. We are all here on our own journey of growth, transformation, growth, healing. They all mean the same thing. We're all here on this to discover it for ourselves, whatever we came here to set upon, whatever that our soul or decided, right? And we are going through this journey, and your question arose around the different frequencies. So looking at the divine dragon energy healing system and the frequencies of the dragons, there are different frequencies. When we have the more earthbound dragons, so earthbound ones, I mean like the elementals, the fire, the earth, the water, the air, these are all earthbound elementals. They can help us cut through certain vibrational densities. So for clearing, so for example, if when I'm feeling there's denser emotions, we would want to be clearing that with some other, we'd invite the fire dragon for that, and we would clear, cleanse, and transmute those denser emotions. I would also work on it through the chakra system as well. So I work a lot with the chakras when we are in these sessions, and again I combine this with the Kundalini aspect of it as well, because they all work beautifully together, and our bodies are they are these incredible instruments that we are using. They're not just kind of, we're using them physically, we're not wearing them, we're wearing them, but we're not, we're moving, but they are in need of fine-tuning. And our glands and organs, each of our glands and organs relate to one of our chakras. So the chakras are the energy systems of the body. And in Kundalini Yoga, we believe that the 8th chakra is our aura. So the aura has many subtle bodies, many different layers, the mental body, the emotional bodies, so the astral body. So when we're working with the divine dragons, we will be inviting specific dragons to work on specific challenges that we have, and how we feel it in the body. How I feel it, everyone feels it, will have a different feeling of it. Some people are very much more of seers. I'm very much more of a sensing and feeling, tingling. I feel it throughout my energy bodies and my physical body. And I then channel it. It's not a touch method like Reiki would be a hands-on method. This is really transmitting it through our intention. Intention. So it would be done, and again, we do it remotely, because as we know, energy is it's like a web. We cannot see it, but we know it's there. We know we have auras, right? We know we are electromagnetic beings. If we look at the heart, for example, the heart, and I like that the rose has all these spirals. The heart is 60 times more electric than the brain. Right? It is also 500 times more magnetic. 500 times, that's huge, than the brain. We can't see it, and we can't see it, the brain, the signals, but we know it's there, and we know that there is this web that we are able, through our intention, to transmit and to work with those frequencies.
That's funny, because it's the body reflects so much that, I mean, there is, you need electricity for the body to live. If there is no stimulation, well, there is no life. And you have this whole network of the fascia in your body that has been ignored for so long, because when they were started to cut the body, they cut the fascia, they didn't care about it. Oh, it's just some fat or whatever.
Like, just peel that thing off.
Until they understand that, oh no, it's the network. That's what makes the communication between everything into the body. Don't see it, but we can feel it when we have inflammations. That's the one when you have this weird kind of pain that can go around a bit like in a toy, and it's not deep, but it's so important, because the fascia is just trying to transmit something. That's okay, there is a blockage somewhere. I can't go through. Where should go? We don't see it, but it's there. And there is a lot of spiral into the body. I mean, the core, it's a part of a spiral. You have the position of the neck, it's a spiral. So it's the reflection how we've been built as human on this physical experience. It's another way of showing how, so between the universe, or between this energy fields, is always in connection. And it's funny how much human beings are really good at disconnected with their body, with their true self. It's and it's so, at some point it's better to laugh about it, because otherwise you're going to cry. But I found that really, it's so, why are we putting so much things on us from a young age that we've put on children? Oh, you have to learn this and that and that, so like this you will be smart at the end of whatever, or you will have something as a plan B or whatever. When you see children, when you just watch them, they have this creativity, they have messages, that they are in touch with their true selves directly. That's before we put so much things on them.
And where the programming begins. And the programming begins from a very young age, from 0 to 7. You're said to be living on your theta waves. So going, the science shows that we are almost in this hypnotic state until we're 0 to 7. And I think there was a what was a group of people called? It was a religious group. They would use the phrase, show me a boy from 0 to give me a boy from 0 to 7, or show me a boy from 0 to 7, and then I give you a man. So that essentially means, and I can't remember now, it'll pop up later, who that group had said that, but it is basically saying until you're 7, you are fully programmed, and then after that, your belief systems are now coming from sort of the way you learn is going to be through repetition and through different routes, rather than subconsciously you're just absorbing it through the theta brain waves. So, that is a really important age. And I think people in the ancient times had already known this. 0 to 7, really good age to program and condition our children. And, that's where we learn a lot of our stuff. Of course, we also know now scientifically that this happens in the womb as well, before we're even, in this world as the physical. We are physical, obviously, in the womb, but we are still absorbing and learning a lot in that phase. And what you said about the myofascia, I mean, it's, it is like just going that the complexity of it. I mean, if we think about the tongue through the myofascia, and again, this is some stuff from Kundalini Yoga, which is why we do so many meditations and the movement that we do in the Kundalini Kriyas, or the postures. It's all links. We're linking all the different glands and organs of the body. It isn't just being flexible and holding a perfect pose. Kundalini Yoga is brilliant about that. It's nothing about looking. It's about being imperfect rather than perfect. It's about doing things in to affect the black glands and organs of the body, and using the myofascia, because obviously it's all attached, to also create fresh blood chemistry, because that blood chemistry, the proteins, the lipids, the hormones and peptides are being secreted from the glands and organs of the body, is what is going into your blood chemistry. And those are what affect our feelings and our thoughts as well. So our tongue is connected to the heart muscle. Sorry, the tongue is connected to the lungs. Toe, I'm getting it wrong now. Lips are connected to the lungs. So the lips are connected to the lungs. The tongue is connected to the heart. So there's a breathing technique that we call using sitali breath. You might see that, the taco tongue, and then sitali, and it's an incredible, that's it. If you can't do that, because not everyone is predisposed to do it. If you can't, just resting the tongue on the top of the teeth, and then breathing, so the air's going above the tongue. So you can. It's also known as a cooling breath. So if you could feel that breath coming in, that goes directly into. You could feel that going directly into the lungs and into the heart. That connection. That is an incredible breath to do when we are feeling certain emotions like anger, frustration. Also particularly good if you are having that sort of morning, mid-afternoon lull. You're having a bit of a sleepy moment when, you might feel like your sugar levels are crashing or whatever that is linked to you. Or any time of the day you're feeling a bit tired. Also great for perimenopause and menopause as well, which I think links to that kind of feeling hot as well. So anything you want to kind of cool down the system, breath, but that linking to that.
It's funny because when we are kids, we do that.
We do, don't we? Yeah.
I remember doing that quite often.
I wonder if you did it on a hot sunny day when it was really hot.
I do. I don't recall when exactly, but I do remember that. I think my mom couldn't do that also, but it's funny. So sometimes you do that instinctively as a child, and you forget. Says, oh no, why should I do that again? So no, that's really interesting, because I was talking about that with a client about anger. I mean, it's probably the emotion I know the most personally, and she's a bit also really much into anger, and to detach about it, or at least I would say calming down, because the thing is, for me, when you're specifically in the emotion of anger, and even if you think yourself, I need to calm down, it's even worse.
Or if someone tells you to calm down.
That's worse. That's definitely worse.
Never.
You want to die, tell me that. But it's even for when, if I tell myself I need to calm down, it's not possible. I don't have even the space from being well and then getting angry. I don't have this phase of getting angry. I'm from fine to angry, or fury. Sometimes that's going to go.
Rage, I mean that's the next step. Rage is the next step from anger, and
the only way I found myself, it's to box, because it's just I need to express it in some way, or yelling a really big scream, because I did martial arts, because it's just easier like this. But I mean, it's not always easy to do that when you're in the street, or when you're in a shop, or when you're anywhere, and you're just so I think I prefer to turn my lung around and
well, we do live in a society where anger, and I'm so glad you brought up anger, because I love anger. I love this emotion. I think it's such
love it. It gives so much energy. It's energy for me. I've learned it's energy. It's not
energy.
We tend to put that as a bad thing, but when you channel anger, you can create so much It's the thing also. You're going to create more strength. You're going to create something also with your hands if you're more manual, or you're going to do actions you never thought you would be able to do. But to channeling
it, and that's the key.
Yeah,
it's channeling and getting it at that stage. We don't want to be harming the liver and the body, the organs of it, because anger has, we need to, when it's been repressed for so long and it's been repressed and repressed, then we can blow up. Then it's like a pothole right in the road. The rage, volcanic, right, reactions. And going back to childhood, again, it's something that we're told as children not to be angry. Particularly, we were, talking before the interview about girls. We're particularly, it's not ladylike to be angry. It's not so and so. It's like what? Or so we grow up, repressing, and it's not just anger. So many emotions we are told to repress. Crying. Children or boys are told to man up. I mean, girls as well, which is ridiculous. Not crying. These emotions are necessary, really important. And anger, when channeled correctly, actually gives us determination. And determination helps us to take action. And when we take action in our life, not mindless action, obviously, but when we are kind of being determined, we go at things with passion, and we need that in our lives. And if it's really, if you're not in a situation where you can scream and shout, you could get a punch bag and punch it, get a pillow and punch it. In Kundalini Yoga, we have some moves where we just kind of sit out and just punch it out. Maybe breathing through the lips as well. So you're breathing out through the lips. Just, we need it to move through us. And we need to kind of, not think of it as being a bad. There are no bad emotions. They just are. Emotions are. And we need to stop being slaves to our emotions and actually use them as the tools that they are. They are incredible tools. And from a perspective of, I do a lot of inner child work as well. And from the perspective of our inner child, when we're working with the emotions, so I look at emotions as the language of our subconscious. And these emotions are messages that are being relayed to us. There's information in these emotions. So what is that emotion telling us? And normally when we find ourselves experiencing the same emotion over and over in different situations and scenarios, what tends to happen is that we are reliving a situation from our past. So unless we deal with an emotion and we process it, acknowledge it, and accept it and integrate it, we are going to keep living and creating a future from the past. When we kind of go back and look at that, and I'm not asking anyone to go back and relive trauma. We're not. That's not what we want to do here. That's very different. But we all have levels of trauma and wounds that we have grown up with, and it's just about being curious about what is this emotion that's coming up with me. Why is it coming up? When you're in the situation, when you can, in the moment of the anger, you might not be able to do that. Like you say, if you haven't quite got to that being detached and be able to observe it, just kind of stepping back. And then maybe this is something that will be helpful, is when you've got when you're in a calm space, just to journal around it. Say, right, why is this coming up? When does it come up for me? What situations am I in? What is this emotion trying to tell me? And then next time it comes up, you go, aha, okay, interesting. And then the acknowledgement will come up. Interesting. But I'm still gonna, go through the anger. It's okay. It's not when anger is rage, then it can be very destructive. But healthy anger is healthy anger. I mean, not, we're not going around screaming, yelling and at people.
And I know that, for example, that I can say now, it took me a long time. I always thought I was born angry, because from a young age, that was the emotion I was going through the most. And I was having this moment of really rage when I was young. I was really reactive also. So when someone was teasing me, it would be punched directly. It's just an automatism. And after my son was born, something kind of clicked, and I re-asked my mom how I was born myself. I've heard it many times before, but I needed another kind of, come on, tell me again. And I understood that I was not born angry, but I was born in anger. Because when I was born, my mom was so much in pain, and she was not heard. And my mom is not the type of person that is showing anger. She's a really person that, how can I say, she's the most generous person, the most kind person, and she make everything for you to feel comfortable. But because she torn her abdominals belt on the last month of when she was pregnant of me, she told the doctors, she told the midwife she was really in pain. And both, all the doctors on the day I was born were saying, no, it's just the labor. It's just the labor. You're going to go through it. Don't be a sissy. Don't be a sissy. Just go through it. And it took, I think it took, she was obviously enormously in pain after the birth. But I got that it was printed in me. It was really printed in me. And and I can see why now I have so much difficulty with any kind of doctor. I can feel it. It's something, it took me a time also because I had so many injuries, and I've seen a lot of professors, doctors or nurses. And if they don't listen, I'm going to react quite strongly, because it should be their role is to listen first. And then you create a treatment. You're not just symptoms targeting, but you have to listen the patient in front of you before telling me I'm wrong on what I feel. And and I've seen that so many times, and it's still there. When you see a lot of postpartum women, they can be in pain, they don't know why, and they have no answers from doctors. It's just your body is going to heal, take it 9 months or whatever, and wait for more to be more in pain to come back to me. So it's I feel that really deeply into me, the anger, because I have so much energy also. It's really kind of, anger can come really fast. If you ask my husband to describe me in one word, he will say volcano.
Would he? Volcano.
Because it can be as joy or as anger, I will be a volcano. I don't have a really kind of spectrum. It's one thing or a big thing. It's the thing. But it's so really important to understand things like this when you're not, to detach yourself from the situation and to see, okay, there is something there that can explain why I get so much angry, or how I can use my anger for something different. If I use my anger to help or to support, my anger is useful. But if I'm getting angry and I keep yelling at my son because he didn't tidy up his toys, no, there is no point. That's destructive.
Yes.
And it's difficult as adults to just step back, because I don't know, I don't think I ever see my parents step back on what they were telling me. We are probably the first generations of really, maybe I shouldn't say that to my kids.
It is a different, absolutely. We are the first generation to be much more self-aware and aware of these, how we are more conscious as parents. We are conscious, many of us try to parent consciously, and our parents didn't have that opportunity. And sometimes I think anger, going back to anger, what I noticed as well is sometimes anger was also, because we've it is a little bit more acceptable than grief. Anger, underneath some anger is grief, right? And grief tends to live in the lungs, and which is why breath work is really supportive of that. But well, breath work supports everything, but I think with obviously being part of the lungs, and I think underneath that, again, it's I know from my own daughter, when she gets anger as her go-to emotion as well. We've been talking about, and I know that when we talk through it and we look through what it is underneath that, there is that resistance of crying, because as children, not just from parents, but our kids go to nurseries, they go to school from such a young age. They are surrounded by other people, other carers who have their own beliefs. Oh, you shouldn't be crying. Why are you crying? Stop crying. So from a very young age as well, we're told to, we can't, crying is a bad thing. Tears are bad. And I'm a bad person if I cry. No, it is not a bad thing. Cry it, because if you don't, that will also come up show up in a different way. It will always show up. And I was going to say, especially for boys, right? We hear that big boys don't cry or man up all these times. So we've got to make sure that is something that, as parents, that we are much more conscious of. And going back to what you said, that they are the first generation. 100 years ago, about 50 years ago, like my parents' generation, who were born in the 1940s, post-war babies, baby boom, right? That generation, had they kind of said to anyone, I'm doing some inner child work, I'm healing, I'm doing some, I'm doing some self-reflection. What? You'd literally be put into a psychiatric unit. It was not acceptable. Or maybe in America, it was kind of in the 60s. That's when it began to be acceptable, and transactional analysis and all that was became. I think Dr. Eric Byrne, who wrote the games that people play, which was around transactional society analysis. That was the New York Times bestseller in the 60s. That's when it became mainstream and it was acceptable. But before that, it was not acceptable to do this.
And also because they were born after war. So what they should be worried about, what they should be kind of, they are just having these opportunities. So it's difficult to for them to see the consequences on us, for example, sometimes, because why you have shelter, you have food, you have water, you have clothes on you, what they've been taught you. But yes, we can be grateful for these things, but we can be grateful for ourselves that we brought also these things. I mean, it's not just came out of nowhere.
We get told these things and we pass them down. You should be grateful. This costs this much. I don't know, but these money beliefs that we are imprinted, and we learn, and that we then get to a certain age and we begin to unlearn because they're not helpful at all. These self-imposed limitations that I was talking about at the beginning, that comes from all the beliefs, everyone else's beliefs, block, 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 all over us. And and then we go, hold on a second. We become discombobulated. We live in our heads. We disconnect from our bodies, and which is signaling to us all the time. I'll give you an example from I was in the corporate world for 20 years. So I worked in advertising and digital media, global media planning. And, I worked with clients like Apple, Vodafone, Sony Consumer Electronics, Hewlett-Packard, all tech clients. So I worked a lot on the, when Facebook was just born. These are I used to work with Googles and Facebooks when they were little tiny things that no one had heard of. But it, and I remember actually at the beginning thinking, wow, when like the smartphone came out, what is this doing to our bodies? Because I was addicted actually before the smartphone, the BlackBerry. Do you remember that?
I never had one, but I do remember the photos of BlackBerry, because you could see that a lot in movies. and in TV shows and stuff. So I had my first phone. I was 18. So it was, and I'm glad I just had at 18 and not before.
Well, I had my first Nokia at university, so you know,
I had
my first
Nokia, the really heavy one.
I've seen there's a trend that they're coming back because, again, people are recognizing what is it doing to our systems? What is it doing to our energy field? All this technology, again, just because we cannot see it, Bluetooth, everything. I mean, your fridge is Bluetooth again. your washing machine, your dishwasher. Seriously, why does everything need to be Bluetooth? Yeah. But everything is. And again, we can't see it, but it's working. It's working everything. And we don't know what effects that is having on our bodies. Physical, but before the physical, it's having, and I knew it was having an effect on me because I would be on my BlackBerry, I would be on my laptop. I was literally, it was a third limb to me during that time, because that industry, we worked 12-hour days. It was, you know, if you didn't work 12 to 14-hour days, you know, it was like a badge of honor. Oh, I didn't get out of the office till midnight last night. Oh yeah, you know, it was ridiculous. And I could feel the frazzling, and I look at it now, and I know now when I'm frazzled. I mean, I literally do feel like it's like the microwave feeling. Like, right, this is too much. This is too much time on the screen, on my phone. I have to have time away from that. And it doesn't help. These screen time things are rubbish. You know, it tells you how much you're on, and people override it all the time. We have to make a conscious effort to stay away from that. They are designed, like I said, I worked on Apple. I actually worked on Apple when we launched iTunes in 2003, before the phone. But I remember working, who was it, in 2007, I think it was, with Microsoft. And there was a chief operating officer or chief creative officer, and he wrote a book around business reimagined and how we are the first generation with this technology, and we have become slaves to the machine. Yeah. And you know, and I remember thinking, yeah, we really are. Even at the beginning, it was a novelty, and we really were slaves to it. Yeah. And you know, when the iPhone was launched, it's, you know, the smartphone technology is designed for maximum usage. It is designed to keep us there neurologically. You know, we get the bings, you know, that's having a dopamine hit, right? Yeah. Facebook and, you know, they work, maybe I shouldn't say all the social platforms names, but these big social media platforms I've just named, they would bring, I would be in research meetings with these guys, their teams, and they would gleefully tell me about the neuroscience research that they had just done on how we can get maximum time of people on the ads, on the sponsorship, on the posts, on the formats. How do we keep people on the platform as long as possible? And that was done with partnership with scientists, with neuroscientists. So it doesn't have the best interests at heart. And I remember I'd sit there thinking, I'd feel very uncomfortable. And actually, during that industry, from about 5 years, I actually stopped all social media because there was something, and I didn't realize at the time what it was, because I hadn't quite gotten to this third phase of this third lifetime, as I call it. But I now realize that the energy, that sort of manipulation for not the greater good, was not part of my cellular makeup.
Yeah, but it's really difficult to escape it, because now as business, they're going to say you have to be on social media to show your business, and they just change the algorithm, so you have to create different things, and then you can't create, really, because if you look at on Reels on Instagram and stuff like this, they push you to use what is trendy.
Yes.
How is it creative?
90 seconds, right?
yeah, sometimes I just see the same kind of things and I just, well, that's boring. You copy, okay, you save things, but you see always the same thing. And I realized, I mean, I'm on my phone. I didn't want to get onto Instagram. I wanted to send a message. And I'm just,
Yes.
how did I come on Instagram? And it's just sometimes freaky because you just, no, I just wanted to do an email or a message or something. And I'm on Instagram. I don't use Facebook anymore, but or YouTube a little, but really much more on Instagram because it's photos or quick videos. So just, oh, it goes fast. Oh yes, 5 minutes and then 20 minutes. You spend 20 minutes looking at something that makes you feel rubbish most of the time. Sometimes you have a hope message, but most of the time you have, and you can feel that then in your body. It's kind of sticky in some ways. Is you have, oh, come on. I've just started to have a proper lamp that gives the time and an alarm for not having my phone next to me at night. But I was putting airplane mode, but still, I really
Yeah,
wanted to not having my phone next to me at night.
yeah.
So having a lamp and having the proper alarm, like a
Clock. Yes,
like,
yeah. I mean, that's what we've done. We've got proper clocks again upstairs. There is
yeah,
no technology allowed upstairs in the
yeah,
evenings. No
yeah.
one's allowed a phone. Again, they're constantly emitting stuff even when
Mm.
they're on airplane mode. And we don't want that near our systems. Our bodies need to rest and restore and heal, right, during that sleep time.
Yeah, it's really important not to have. I can't think I'm having a TV in the bedroom. I mean, it's why having a TV? That's for living rooms, and still, screens are not for bedrooms. You just, I don't know, you rest in your bed, and it's or you do something else, but at least it's your body for the pleasure of your body.
Exactly, which is stuff that we need to be doing because we need that pleasure in the body. That helps us with our manifestation. That helps us get onto that vibration. And when we're constantly being, zombified by looking at our screens and being told, I always like to say there's a reason why it's called programming. There's a program. What's it doing to us?
Yeah.
We need to connect back into the body and our heads. We're so in our head brain. We're in that patriarchal millennia that we've been in, that we're coming out of slowly, where that logical, analytical, it's, that's the only way that we could do. It's not the only way. Yes, we need it, but we also need to step into the heart brain and the gut brain, the first, and I call them brains, but I mean that in the sense that they're all they all have neurons. The size, there are, what's this, the size of your gut brain is the size of a cat's brain. Okay. It's powerful. And it's the first one. If you think about evolution, how we developed the gut, we would be sliding on the, our bellies would be on the ground, right? We would feel, that's how we would get information. That's why we have a gut feel. There's so many words that we use when we talk about the gut, right? We have butterflies. I think we talked about it before. In some cultures, butterflies in the tummy are not good, but in some cultures, it's really good. But
We have this sensation that your core will give you indication on how you feel your surroundings, not just inside or just your emotion, but even wider if you let it talk. And I mean, I remember I was attacked in the street a few years ago in London, and I will always remember. Unfortunately, it was not the first time for me in my life, but this was the last time for now. And I will remember always, it was just 6 a.m. in the morning. There were, for the first time, I went into this street to see my client. It was obviously really dark because it was November. And normally there were always people around, dog walkers, runners. This time there were nobody for whatever reason. And my body told me they make me feel danger. They make me feel a shadow behind me. automatically my mind told me, no, that's fine. It's okay. Just keep walking.
Ignore it. Again, the brain's saying,
Again,
suppress that
ignore
emotion.
it. And obviously 2 minutes later, I had this man behind me grabbing my ass. And I jumped out of him, screamed as much as I could, and then run away. And I was lucky because he ran. He was, I felt it really strongly. He was a hunter for play, like a hunter that play with his food, but not really do anything.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
So it was really, he ran the other way. And I ran as fast as I could to my client.
Gosh.
And I mean, I was tumbling her door. I just, come on, let me in. And once I came in, I calmed down a little bit, tried to explain what happened to my client, was starting to be freaked out. And she told me, you need to report, it's a crime. And again, my mind was telling me, what are they going to do? You've seen nothing. You're fine. What is the point to tell the police? Because you have no memory of who it was, or no really signals, really clear signals of it. And fortunately, my client pushed me to go on the website, on the Met website, and report it as a crime, or as an offense, or whatever it's called. And I started to feel better just by really officializing that happens. And I reported it. And then she told me, yeah, you now have to play a game, a video game, to distract your brain from printing that into yourself. So unfortunately, I didn't have any video game. I was trying to stop video games, the Candy Crush and stuff on my
The addiction.
Candy Crush, and for 10 minutes I was playing with that when she was training. And it calmed down, but I felt, because the brain, obviously, it was helping for the mind, but was not helping for my body. So I said, okay, you stop your training, we put some music on, and we just dance to really reappropriate my body.
Yes.
Because that, otherwise you get stuck, or, oh no, it's gone, you're safe, like my mind was telling me to do. And I understand that obviously it was a way for it to protect me in some way, to tell me I'm safe. But I will always regret not have listened to my body, or just follow what my body said. No, feel there is a shadow behind you. And it was, I had a shadow. I really felt the danger, but I didn't, because of my mind.
And that's it. You actually feel that energetically. We feel when we have something, we feel that presence when we're tuned into it, or even not consciously tuned into it. Some people, you don't have to be really tuned into your spiritual or psychic gifts to sense things. Like you said, you just sense there is something there, but we tell ourselves we're being silly. It's nothing. It's nothing, because we're conditioned out of trusting ourselves, our bodies. And that's, at least I'm so pleased to hear that you actually submitted that report, and because that is that step.
Yeah, I saw 2 officers. They came into my house 2 days later, I think, and I knew that they wouldn't be able to do anything, because it was on the street where there is no CCTV. So it was kind of bad of luck for that, but it was just to reassure my mind in some way. My body was fine. I was obviously still a bit in shock afterwards. I needed to cry about it for some time, and I needed to relearn the street after that, to make sure. I even posted on Facebook to make sure that was useful to something, for someone, even if you think it's nothing, because you've learned it's nothing. You need to report it. It's an offense. And I found out that the guy attacked another lady 10 minutes before me.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 days before you.
Yeah. And she was next to the police station. She did directly go to the police station. They told her to go on the website.
Well, to go, that's crazy. And how many people would then not, not do that because oh well, I can't bother now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I have to go on the website. In this case, you need a human being.
Yeah, and also trust, that element of trust, that human to human trust. Where is that? Just go on the website. What are we telling each other as in humanity? But that we don't matter.
Yeah, it was for me. I mean, she was brave enough to go to the police station directly. I mean, she didn't wait or anything. It happened, and she went to the police station. I mean, that's
shocking that they can.
She got a
human being. And as a woman, second class, that's not so that we're all treated like old, but yes, we are. Women, second class citizen, off you go. No, this isn't important for us.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they catch him? Sorry, did they catch him then?
No, because he didn't have really. I mean, the little information I remember, he had a jeans, a hoodie, just a really white teeth. That's all I remember. Because he was smiling. You see, he had this kind of smile, cocky smile a bit. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I got you, or something like this. It was really kind of.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So it was really just that. But if I didn't talk about it on the moment, if I didn't report it, if I didn't reappropriate my body at this time, I know that I wouldn't be able to talk about it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sticky in my body. It's not sticky. I'm detached from it. It happens, but it happens. But I've done everything I could to not happening again. And I know, because when I was 18 and I was attacked in the tramway or something, I kept myself safe at this moment. And the guy attacked me with people around. He literally jumped on me, and nobody saw anything. I had the reflex of pushing him hard.
Yeah.
But people were just, why did you do that?
Didn't see the
So
why help?
And it was just, well, yeah. And I felt guilty to defend myself at this point. I was 18. When in fact I was.
You feel like you're the one who's bad.
And like I didn't wanted him to attack me or anything. I don't know. It's always the same thing. But
again, as women, you're not trusting. As a woman, you can't trust yourself. So like, have I done something? Have I done something wrong? I mean, no, we shouldn't be asking ourselves that. Have I done something wrong?
Whatever you wear, whatever your attitude, you shouldn't have to check on that. When I posted, and when I found out that there was this other lady who been attacked, it was on the app Neighborhood or Next Door or something. Next Door.
Oh yes, Next Door, that app, yeah.
And it's my client who showed me that. So I contacted her directly, and we have all these comments like, "Oh, ladies, you shouldn't have your earphones. You should be aware. You shouldn't have skirts." All this kind of, and I didn't have my earphones. I had my big bag, my sport bag on my back. The guy went under that to grab my ass. So it was completely, it was still
inappropriate, and how and again, it shows how we have so far to evolve. Yeah. And like you said, again, sorry.
No, that's fine. Keep going.
And I was going to say that if you hadn't done what you had when you went to your clients, on a different timeline, you might have not said anything at all. Yeah. You could have not said and shut down and not spoken about this, and that would have created trauma in the body.
Yeah.
The fact that you were able to communicate to your client, and you also danced. Dancing is so underrated, right? Moving the body, that whole movement. That's how we process the trauma through our bodies. That's how, I don't know if I talked about this in this before, in our pre-talk, when I talked about the ducks. Did I mention it?
No.
On here. Okay, so that was in the pre-talk. So we were chatting, everyone, earlier, and I was, it's this thing about animals. If you look at an animal and two swans on a lake, they're having a fight, right? They're fighting with each other, and then they turn around, they spread their wings, and they flap, right? Yeah. They are discharging that energy. That is an important part of the process. They don't then go on going, oh my God, he was a right arsehole. Look at him. What a stupid little right now. You know what I mean? They've got rid of it. They've discharged it.
Yes.
Same with rabbits, rabbits being chased. They're like, boom, they sprint. They're in that fight and flight response. That's, that survival mode. Once you're in survival, and then danger's gone, no more fox or whatever. And then they relax, they shake, and they carry on munching some grass. Okay, we're all good. So, that's how nature behaves. And we don't behave like that. We are nature. We're not separate from nature. And I think that's a really important thing for us all to remember. We've separated ourselves. Nature's out there. No, we are involved. We are part of that.
We are from that. If you look at a tree, how much we have the similarities in your lungs, in the brains, if you look at some fruits, the nuts, it's a couple of the brain.
Yes, the walnuts. And the carrots, the eye.
Yeah, come on. You don't need to come from any kind of university to understand, observe the nature. You will see your similarity, you will connect much more easily. It's basic, but we are scared of basic. We are scared of, we dismiss the basics when in fact this is the most essential to be able to be and not just do all the time.
We think it's overcomplicating it is going to make it more intelligent.
I'm completely, like anything, we try to overthink or over justify,
analyze,
when in fact, when you see in science, what do? They create a protocol. They create a specific protocol with characteristics. So it's always an angle. It's never for the general people. It works for everyone like this. It's a protocol. So it's you can't put the body in just one protocol. If you want protocols, you have to go through an enormously different protocols, or you create your own. That's how you can develop this more connection with the body and let the body talk, because it doesn't understand the words of the mind. It will feel the frequency as you've explained, but it's like trying. If you try to stand up, well, you're not going to try to stand up. You stand up or you're sitting, stay sitting, but you're not in between. It's that's a word of the mind, but the body is so perceptive. You're going to feel if there's someone around you. If you're open to that, you're going to feel the vibes. I send you positive vibes. Great, I'm going to receive them. But it's we talk that in our common language, shall we say? But it's even more than what you can think. The vibes, the energy, you can feel that when someone is not good for you, when you click with someone, it's automatic. It's like, oh, I love your energy. I don't know you yet, but I love your energy. It's and you reflect that into your relationships and into how you explain or how you express more your powers also, because that's one thing that you do and that you help people with, is to reclaim the powers. Like you've done for yourself.
Our gifts, they are our gifts. We have within us these gifts that we have suppressed, and we have, again, through this disconnection that we have through the programming, through this, you know, the systems that we grow up through the society and schooling, and we lose touch of who we are. And an example of this is, so you know, my childhood, I loved to dance. Oh my God, as a child, but on my own. I didn't like dance school. No. It was in my room, dancing and singing. Twinkle Twinkle was an absolute favorite. And you know, I am definitely a proclaimed starseed, so I have a real affinity with the stars. I've always had this. I was, you know, as children, we're fascinated with the solar system, aren't we? Yeah. I remember Halley's Comet, the wait for Halley's Comet, or Halley's Comet, however. I had the poster on my wall, waiting for that, getting there, and then not seeing it. So all the anticipate, we have this innate connection. We have a connection with our soul, with the hidden, right? The hidden realms, let's say. And like you say, we talk about it in when you know, like good vibes, we talk about energy, and as if we kind of, but do we really believe it? Again, it's sort of stamped out of us, right? At certain phases. It was certainly stamped out of my belief system for a very long time. At the age of around, you know, my, 9, 10, my granny used to do a lot of Turkish coffee reading. So I was really interested in that. And then around 12, I bought my first tarot deck. My friends and I went to a bookshop, and I bought these Luigi Scarpini tarot cards, and I still have them in my collection. And I began to read them. And you know, we all go through a phase, and I went through. Everyone was buying crystals. I used to do astrology. You know, this was pre-internet time, so I would have my books, and I would say what dates were you born, what time, and then I would work out people's ascendants. I'd work out all the rising sign. I'd work out their moon signs, all through longitude and latitude, you know, with my hands and my writing. And I noticed that some of my friends were growing out of this phase, and I wasn't. You know, it was still something. But what I noticed more was I was hiding it more. I read, you know, I remember I was reading Carl Gustav Jung when I was 13. I read Freud, and I was very interested in psychology, but Jung, there was something within Jung that really resonated with me. And I could not express that in any way. Why was I so, and I read, and now I kind of look back and go, oh my God, of course. He was very much a very spiritual man, but also coined the term inner child, coined the term synchronicity. Okay. You know, Jung talks a lot about our shadow self. He was well ahead of his time. And I mean, my friends would love coming to me to do tarot. Tuğçe, do another tarot at the university. Oh my God, I had people literally, you know, lines of people doing. And what I realized that I lacked in boundaries, you know, people pleasing, boundary thing, huge thing for many of us, particularly women, I'm going to say. Again, I had never seen that through my own parents. They had no boundaries. Who am I learning from? My parents, right? Yeah. And it just became exhausting. I was absolutely exhausted with it all. And then I realized that it was, you know, mainstream stuff never really suited me. I was like, why? You know, am I different because of my culture, being Turkish? You know, I was born in Turkey, but I never lived in Turkey. I lived in America for a bit. I lived in about 8 countries before I was even 6. Moved to the UK when I was, 7? So, you know, all these, I could never put my finger on it. I just felt, you know, I'm an outsider. There's something here that doesn't fit. I don't fit in. Quite happy with that.
You get used to somewhere.
Yeah. And then I think it was a point at university that kind of made me go, do you know what? I'm just gonna just go with everyone else. It's just easier. And that's what it was. It's easier to go, not to follow my heart, not to follow my soul. Yeah. So and then actually it was many, many years later when, in the last 2 years, when I've done a lot of astrology work, but I was introduced to human design. And I'm not an expert, so I'm not claiming to be an expert. So if I say the wrong, excuse me, anyone watching who is an expert. But I discovered my human design being a 6-2 role model. So I'm a generator with a 6-2 line role model. I'm like, what does that mean? and it's almost, and I've always said, I have lived many lives in this lifetime. I've always felt that. And I looked at my human design, the 6-2 hermit line. I'm like, yes, I'm a hermit. I love being a hermit. I've always resonated with the hermits in the tarot, as well as, you know, through the yogis. You know, I've always said, it'd be lovely to be in a cave, really, and just meditate all day. But we live in this, you know, this 3D world. I have to be integrated. But what human design helped me realize, or understand, was the first 20 odd years of our lifetime, for my particular line, 6-2, not for everybody, is around experiencing, exploring, you know, really being in that ego state, that kind of, you know, what's happening to me? Everything's happening to me. You know, it's quite a victim, really. So I definitely, you know, and I went through some, and I won't go into it here, but I went through some very dark stages. You know, what the story you mentioned earlier about having, you know, people, unsavory people, and, you know, being in attacks. I mean, there was a situation where I was on the London Underground, and a man, I was 15, coming back from Camden, or maybe I was 16, and he put his hands on my knee, and just, you know, we're sitting on the Northern Line. He had his hand on my knee. I was wearing, I was in my, you know, my grunge stage, so I had my DM boots on, a flowery dress. I did have tights on, and he put his hand, and I just turned around. I had my Walkman on, and I looked around and went, but even I just felt I was frozen. It's that response that we get, the fight, flight, freeze, or freeze response. I was frozen. Yeah, I couldn't do anything. And I just looked at
move. So like this, there is nothing happening.
There's nothing happening to me. Yeah. If I don't move, and that is an animal, that's another response that we see in animals, right? If they play dead. It is a very natural human response.
Yeah.
And I realized this. He put his hands on me, and then he got off. He said, "Come off at whatever stop it was," and I was like, "No," and he didn't pull me or anything. And then he got off the train. And I looked around, and I started to. I think I yelled at the people on the train, like, "Why didn't anyone do anything or say anything?" And the man opposite me, I remember him saying, "Oh, if he did anything more, I was going to come and help you." Like, what, drag? And I was like, what if he dragged me off? And I remember thinking, wow, that's interesting. That's the fact that we live in a society, and if you look at it from this sort of this higher perspective, there is a child. I was still a child at the time there, with an older man on, you know, this uncomfortable, clearly unwanted, uncomfortable situation. But as a society, we also we freeze. We don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
It was a half-packed train. There were people everywhere. So, you know, this is what we need to be working through as well, and on a kind of collective level, because that kind of stuff is not okay. So, you know, these experiences happen, you know, you're thinking, why are these things happening? And then when in my late 20s, so I was in the corporate world, like I said, you know, I was like, leave all the spiritual stuff behind. This is all, you know, it's not helping me. It's not serving me. It's all bullshit. Hate it. Kind of, you know, lock the key, threw the key away. And I remember putting my tarot cards away, and I was like, I'm not going to look at them again. And I didn't for about 20 years. So come my late 20s, or maybe it was actually when I got married and when I had my first child, I then went through this next phase, in which it normally happens around your Saturn returns, around your 30s, which was then my more introvert. And I've always been an introvert and a sensitive person, an empath, but I was really suddenly like, all the stuff that I enjoyed, I no longer enjoyed. I don't really want to hang out with those people. I don't want to be with them. I just want to be here at home. I don't want to go to it was a very, suddenly of kind of being this quite a different person. And it became very reflective, very much in my inner world, the inner space. And that was the beginning of this kind of self-reflection. And it was in my 30s, I remember thinking, I really want to go into coaching. I want to become a coach. And I remember being in Brussels with my Sony Vio clients. Vio used to be the old laptops, right? I used to go to Brussels every month. And I was talking to one of the other agency directors, and she had said, I think this was just 2008, and she said she was training to be a coach. And I thought, this is really interesting. And I remember being really intrigued, and the seed had planted. However, it took me a long time. Again, I didn't have that, I had that mental kind of inner critic telling me, you can't do that. You can't leave this industry. You are so well paid. You are so, you are climbing up this ladder. You are doing so amazingly. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't leave it. I don't know how to. I just did not know what to do until it got to a point where I was very sick, and my husband was away, and it was very unpleasant, and I ended up, I had to have an operation, and it was an infection. I had a gallbladder infection, but the gallbladder infection itself, I remember it felt like I was like something searing through my body. It felt like a heart attack at the time. And because I'd left it, I knew I had gallstones. I'd known for 5 years, but I ignored it. So this is what I talk about on my website. You get these knocks, you get these whispers. Yeah, it's a bit of pain. Yeah, I'll ignore that. Oh, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore that until it's like, you are not ignoring it. Have a fucking look at what's going on inside and get it sorted out. So that was then okay, this is not okay. This is not the reality that I want for myself. It doesn't matter how much, money I'm making here. I can do this elsewhere. I know if I put my mind to something, but I need to look after myself. I need to meet my own needs. And again, going back to our childhood, we forget that our needs have to be met because we're so focused on meeting the expectations and the needs of others. You walk on eggshells. I mean, my family dynamics were very explosive. I learnt that if I'm quiet, if I don't say anything, my dad is not going to shout at me. He's not going to get angry. So I was very aware of everyone else, but not myself. So I, came to the point, right, this industry, I'm leaving. I've made a decision, talked to my husband, and honestly, that was the best decision I had ever made. And that came around when I was 40. And again, going back to my human design, this 62 line has this thing where around you have a third life. So this is the phase where you begin, I think, well, maybe it's around 45, looking at it, 45, 50, you start becoming the role model, which is and then you step into your teacher role. So and that was a really supportive, like interesting look at. So that makes so much sense now. And I still I'm still a huge fan of astrology. I'm not qualified in it, but I use it as a tool for my own life as well. So yes. So that, I can't even remember what the question was now. I was talking about the human.
Well, in the story, you explained it really how we can really open. It's really, really open to whispers, and how we can reconnect. But you don't need, and it's not going outside of yourself, but it's reconnect with the inner self and the inner child in particular to see what hasn't been met, what did we learn as a young age, and that what we need to transform to not just make it better, but make it our own and go from there. And the guidance you provide, for example, is unique. I mean, you have this different combination of different perception and even different dimension that you really help your clients to reclaim their powers.
That's the superpower. Yes, the powers.
It's
and the inner space. If we all create that space for ourselves, and we have these unique gifts, and they've always been there, but we just need to just tap in a little bit. And it's the trust. We fear. We have to remind ourselves that the ego is there to protect us. The inner child has created so many layers of protection because they had to protect themselves, right? We had to protect ourselves. Survive. But it's okay. We have to keep reminding ourselves it is okay to dip our toes out of that safety net. little steps, we talk about baby steps, and start to really remember, that's the word I think I wanted to use here, is because it's always been there. It's just remembering that those gifts are there, and they're unique, and it just doesn't live in the structure that we are society likes to put everyone into, right?
Yeah.
We see so many children, and now, with neurodiversity, and neurodiversity is it's and I think these children are wonderful because they are coming in, the children being born, like, we don't want to be in this system, in this education system. It doesn't bloody work.
Yeah, it never worked.
It never worked. And now it's
even for people who think they've been successfully through it, the damage on themselves, they don't see it. They only see it in burns out, when they burn out from the choice of their career. Not that they don't like the career, it's just the body has been just surviving through school, through university, through their work or responsibility as they added on. But at some point, the body just
it's burnt out.
It's just,
and that's exactly the word. You use the right word, and that's what it was for me, was burnout on a level where I was just pushing through, going through at crazy speeds. I remember I'd be on my laptop, I'd be on my phone at the same time. The TV would be on until like midnight, and then I'd go back to bed, and I'd wake up. And another sign for me, and again, this is for people who might resonate with this story. Every morning I woke up with acid. I was sick, acid reflux. It was, I would literally have to go to the bathroom, and it would come out. I would throw up. And this became normal. How the hell is this normal? I look at it now and I laugh, but this was...
This is the thing. I got the same when I was up and out too. And because I was giving so much into my business, I was a manager in a club. I was doing classes also outside. And I was driving a lot, but I got an infection through that. The same is a lot with infection. Because it touched so much deep, it was in my uterus. So it touched so much into at the essence of my creativity. It's just so, come on, why I didn't stop before? Why I didn't stop when I was so tired? I was so tired for so long. Just, how did I go through it? How?
Yeah.
I don't even understand yet now.
It's crazy because we've normalized this. And it's interesting you talk about your uterus infection. Mine was with my gallbladder. My infection, the gallbladder getting infected, is related to all things decision making, discerning.
Yeah.
And I was not making decisions. I was avoiding many. Big ones, exactly. The body is always telling us, if there's a body part that we have trouble with, the somatic emotionology of it all, our body, the knees. I think people, when your knees start popping out, if you look at your knees and your lower legs, your shins represent your standards and values, right? Yeah. If we are not living our own standards, our own values, and we are living, so I think it's the tibia that represents, which is the bigger bone, right? Represents your own values, and the smaller bone, the fibula represents the fibula represents the values of others, so the ones that society impresses on us. If we are not, we're not operating or navigating with our own values, we are going to find difficulty standing. So you might need problems, and I don't think there is a correlation, I think, with our bodies and these. If we just do what society tells us all the time and what we should do, we will experience problems. I see that all the time. Okay, so we do one of the first exercises I will ever do with the clients, like, what are your values? What do you value? And the amount of time people go, what do I value? And it's not an easy exercise, and we go through, and the amount of people just from understanding their own values, it's like, wow, this is just huge. Suddenly you're seeing your life in such a different way.
It's
you're seeing your life. And
it's really funny how much that's, we don't realize we don't value our own, well, we don't have values much. We have our parents or educations or society kind of, but we don't stop to say, okay, what do I put first? Really, is that and it's really funny sometimes, the correlation. I have a pain, for example, I had a really sharp pain on my heel, on the side of my heel, and it took me time to take time to kind of analyze what is going on into this foot, and it's a plantar fascia problem. And because as I can move it, I can walk, that's not a problem, but it's the whole kind of saddle of that, it's really taken into the inflammation, because I feel the pain on the side, but if I go a bit more at turning or twisting, I will feel the whole saddle. And I was doing a tarot cards the other day for a question, and the funny thing is, the first card going out was the hanging man. And he was hanged by the foot, and it was it was the same foot, but just it was reversed, so it was kind of.
Is it your right foot or left foot? Sorry.
So my left foot. And it was a kind of not getting stuck so much, but an entangled problem. Something I really want to do, but I don't know how. And it was really, when I saw the colors, that's exactly how I feel. I feel really just hangs on my foot like this, and kind of, I have one foot moving easily, doesn't have problem, but the other foot, and I always hurt myself on the left side.
Your feminine side.
Yeah.
That's the divine. Left is the divine feminine. So the brain, it's the right, but the right is the masculine, the left is the feminine. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I had many injuries on my ankles because they are really hypermobile. But usually, and it's also it's always on my left. I hurt my knee on my left. I hurt my back on the left. I had the fracture on the left wrists. Rarely I have something on the right. The right is tired, but I had all the fingers kind of broken at some point or the other.
Well, maybe that's a sign. Also, with the feminine, it's maybe you're being called to be more in the feminine, more in the receiving, the relaxing, the being, isn't it? Yeah.
It's difficult sometimes in the fitness world.
Yes. Yeah. Which is so in the masculine, isn't it? I know you're not. So I know what you offer is very different.
Yeah,
but it is still.
Yeah, but the concept of business, the concept, I'm not fighting for that, but I've seen a webinar for how to make your business professional or something like this, and it was this guy. The way he was talking was so aggressive in his words. He didn't want to. I can see he didn't want to. It certainly doesn't realize how much he can transmit his information, but there were a lack of subtleties into his speech for me on how you do business. It was I'm not saying at all it was wrong or anything. It's just the way he was expressing. I was just, that's so old paradigm. That's so, I understand what you're saying, but why you're saying that so with much kind of male power? And I'm sure you have a lot of good things in what you're saying, but I wouldn't work with this guy because he's so kind of you have to do this, you have to do that, and you have to know this, and this is the secrets of making your business professional and stuff. And well, my business is maybe not professional as you like to, but it's me.
Well, that's the patriarchal systems are not working. There's a reason for the shift now. There's a reason they're coming down, right? And it's interesting. I worked in obviously in advertising, a lot of strategy and planning, and in digital. Well, so much of what I've learned, I'm just like, they can fuck off, really. Because what I've learned, it is not what we're stepping into, and it feels bloody scary. Working and I, we've worked with the goddess, our inner goddess. We've got the CEO, the badass comes out, the CEO, and the badass. We need that badass energy sometimes. We need the goddess energy, and we need that the CEO energy, who is a little bit more right. Let's get things on, but badass is needed. But it's about kind of working with we. I can imagine going to one of my clients. So we're going to work with our goddess energy today. And I love that I have the freedom now to be like, no, some days I'm not, this doing the same thing over and over doesn't produce results. What I know will do, though, go to put some music on in the living room. Put on some Sia. Titanium is always a good one for me. And have a dance or go for the walk. I mean, I'm very lucky. I've got access to the woods behind my house. My gate opens into these woods. Being in nature, especially if I'm feeling angry, nature absorbs anger. Nature's a great healer.
That's what I do usually.
Run or whatever it is. Yeah, just walking. And then I know I'm shifting my energy. I am shifting my way of being, and I'm not spiraling down. If I'm like, why isn't this working for me? And that, we compound our thoughts one after each other, don't we? And it makes it worse and worse. Like, no, that I know I'm feeling crap. That's okay. I accept it. I acknowledge it. I'm going to do something. I'm going to move around it. I'm going to, maybe I'll watch Netflix. I don't know. Maybe, let's not, we don't have to power through things that we used to. Business is changing our way and working out what works for us. And I think that's a really important part of, the clients. What works for me isn't going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the same for every person out there, every teacher, every coach, guru, mentor, whatever you want to, whoever you're looking for. You are your own guru. Guru means from the darkness comes the light. Guru, that's what it actually means. And
okay, that's not the version of the American gurus.
No, absolutely not. Guru is not. And this is what my teacher, who I learned Kundalini Yoga from, he is, Guru Singh is an amazing man. I would absolutely invite everyone to check him out. He's about 80 now. And this man is awesome. But, he talks about the pedestalic era being over. The pedestalic era is over, the guru, but the word guru actually means from the darkness comes the light. That is the actual etymology of the word. So you are that. You are your own guru, and you have that authority. What we do is we seek approval and authority from others. And that's something I've been very guilty of, especially when I started my own business. It's terrifying, isn't it, when you first start your own business, because you're like, it's all on you.
Yeah.
And then working out what, you go on all these webinars and you go on all these, you sign up for these things, you sign up for everyone going, be a 6-figure, be a 6 and 7 figure. It's like, come on. Come back. We need to think about what it is that we want, coming back to our heart space, coming back to our heart center, aligning and recognizing that we have our own gifts. And the most terrifying thing is that we all have a wounded child within us, and that we also have a saboteur, one of the other archetypes. And the saboteur isn't afraid of success. Sorry, isn't afraid of failure. It's afraid of success. It's not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
We're used to failure. We're afraid of responsibility. We're afraid that when we are successful, how bloody, amazing we're going to be. And with that comes bigger responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, that's why people want magic pills. because if it doesn't work, it's the fault of the pill. A quick
Yes.
fix. Say, well, yeah, we are not, like for us, we're not in this kind of energy. We are this, well, no, I'm going to give you guidance for you to learn and to apply and to find your own way. In my way to do fitness, so they get fit their own way, and or healthy their own way, and they find their superpowers from your help. But I'm not responsible for your results. I'm responsible for my commitment to you.
Yeah.
That's all I can do for you.
Yeah.
But it's still difficult to apply. For example, I've given up this idea of having a role model from a specific person, or even having a hero from a specific person, a living person. It's for me, it's non-existent, because my I won't say my goal, but my biggest dream when I was a kid was to be me. And I was with I'm just thinking, I can't copy someone else. I can be inspired by actions, yes, but not by someone else talking, just like celebrities or whatever. I mean, yeah, well, they do well for themselves, but they are not my models. I'm not a fan of something. I'm of someone. I'm gonna be a fan or be an admirer of the work, the piece, or the movie or whatever, but I won't be kind of a groupie fan of the celebrity or the person speaking or whatever. No, it's at the end of the day, I want to be me. I don't want to copy anyone.
Everyone's got interesting things that we can take from. Like, oh, that's an interesting thing I want to learn. That's an interesting thing I want to learn.
It's inspiration. It's not to be like anyone else, because well, no, it's boring.
You are unique. I mean, like, how many billions of people on this planet? There's only one you. I mean, it's amazing.
And we have so little chance to be us to be born. So it's a miracle to be born, and then we have this opportunity to be us that we don't take because we're afraid to be us, and because we've been told that it's risky to be us. So it's really, at the end of the day, what do you want? And if it doesn't hurt anyone, go for it. Hurt anyone, I mean, in a way that if you dream of murdering someone, that won't go well. But if you hurt someone that, if you want that someone else's feelings because they have toxic behavior, that's not different things. Okay, I'm setting boundaries for myself, to protect myself and to be nice with myself. But that's, I think it's so important. I mean, we've been well out of the time frame that but I think it is so important to remind everyone that there is so many different tools you have with different kind of practitioner that it's important to explore. And your tools, I mean, working with the dragon energy, understanding this higher frequency that you use to help people to be empowered with themselves, it's unique, but it's just important to understand that energy is everywhere. You have the right to be you, really, you at the heart of the artichoke as much as possible, as long as possible into that. And I think we're really lucky to have people like you who have this ability of bringing these different flavors also into helping people, because there is not just one way or to do. It's the spectrum of tools is there. At the end, it's the always goal is to be you. to be empowered into you and be in your power and be able to use it with care and kindness and responsibility, not to be afraid of the responsibility into that. And it's magical in the way, simple in some way, because why is it so hard to be ourselves? But it's the magic also of being human, that you can still choose. We choose the easy. And just to shift that, okay, being me will be so much easy. I won't have so many problems with my health, and I will follow my intuitions also much more easily, and I will find my path or create my path to whatever success is meant to me much easily. So really, thank you, Tuğçe, for this talk, for this conversation, and for sharing your story, because your story is so. I've been working with Apple and Facebook. Even at the early days, you could feel yourself, the impact on you, and transforming into helping people to empower themselves. And that's so, thank you to be you. You will find all how to reach Tuğçe into the description link. But what is the easiest way? How can we connect with you the easiest way?
The easiest way, the one that doesn't have my name on it. My website, probably heartandpurpose.co.uk. So that is probably the easiest way. So yes, you can find me. And as I say, I don't even know my Linktree one. I've got a Linktree. That's Heart and Purpose as well. Everything's Heart and Purpose. So Instagram, you can find me on Heart and Purpose, Facebook, Heart and Purpose, and heartandpurpose.co.uk.
Great. Thank you so much for this time. And
thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing. I absolutely loved it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your energy.
Your gifts as well, Vanessa. You are unique and amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. And see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.